I don't think any of us wants to do that. So it's giving me the live button. So it looks like we're going. Kevin looks frozen again. So I know we're off to a good start.
Well, welcome, guys. We are supposedly live here with the first round matchups for Capital City Clash. So most of you here know how this goes by now, but I know we have some newer players, including some people who are going to be here. So if you're new to this, just a quick rundown of what we're doing. We've assembled here a group of gentlemen who supposedly know at least something about this game, and also Mark Cox. And so,
awesome for Mark Cox.
What we do is we're going to just kind of look at the tables. For the first round matchups, we'll read off the lists. We'll discuss how we think those matchups are going to go. This is just for fun and entertainment. Don't get your panties in a bunch if you don't like how people pick. We're just here for some laughs and to build some excitement before we get to the event. So with that said, let's meet this motley crew, starting with that damned foreigner on the call. Jeremy, why don't you tell us about yourself?
My name is Jeremy Duvall, and you may know me from Countercharge, and hopefully this is in the right direction now, as opposed to last time and not backwards. So you can hear me on there where I do the List Builder Studio. Check me out there. I'm in California, but Todd keeps talking me into moving to Austin, so you know, he keeps sending me these photos to entice me. So keep those coming, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Those photos stay private, big boy.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. It's just in my phone and for me and the top of my ceiling, and then that's it.
Kevin, why don't you tell us about yourself if you're not frozen?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm Kevin Von Felt, also known as the Dwarf Whisperer. Formerly player of Fort Worth, Texas, and just recently moved to Houston. Been playing for about a year and a half now. I've been really big fan of the tournament scene and everything going on. Yeah, just looking forward to knocking these lists out and playing next week.
And the illustrious Mark Cox is on the phone with us.
Yep, I'm here. Did you want me to say something?
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
All right. I am the TO of Lone Wolf, and I am the South Chair for Masters, and we actually won the Masters bid, so that's a big deal going on right now. So I get to organize 2 GTs all at once instead of just one. But I'm going to be going down to Capital City for another fun year, and I'm looking forward to it.
And we have some fresh blood here. Michael, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm out of Austin. Been playing Kings pretty much since the switch over from Fantasy. Been going to GTs for a couple of years now, so I'm relatively new to it, but I love it. And yeah, this is my first time on a matchup cast, so I'll try to keep up with everybody here.
Popped your cherry.
And
me too.
Those of you who don't know, Mike's a really good graphic designer. He designed the new Lone Wolf website that went out. He did the Clash website a couple years ago, and he just put out some great art for the Kings of War tournament page. So
he did the Masters emblem too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he does some great stuff. If any of you are looking for anything out there, hit him up. And of course, I'm Todd Serpico. Most of you know me from around the Fanatics forum, I'm sure, where I'm one of the admins. I'm also the TO here of Capital City Clash in Austin. And so with that said, there is one phase that is the most important in this game that we play, and that's, of course, the beer phase. So, guys, what are you drinking, and what are you drinking out of?
I'll go first, I guess. I've got I'm doing easy drinking today. I've got a Dos Equis out of a B1 bomber glass.
Delicious. I have a lovely Yingling, the last bunch I brought back from Blue City Brawl, and I'm drinking it out of my Bayou Battles 2017 glass.
Nice. I am also drinking some loot brought back from Blue City. I've got a Got to Get Up to Get Down. It's a coffee milk stout. It's very good. And because I'm ghetto, I'm drinking it straight from the can. Jeremy, Mike, you guys teetotaling tonight?
No, so I have the return of the Kirkland vodka. And this is a new bottle. The Masters bottle from the Masters cast was lovingly caressed and drunk by myself. So I have a fresh new open for this very occasion. And I'm drinking out of my 2016 Giants spring training tumbler.
Keeping it classy.
Very classy.
Are you going to finish that whole bottle tonight?
Well, I'm going to try. We'll see. Maybe I'll get smarter. My predictions will get better the more that I drink.
We need to get you some of that black eye when you come out here.
Well, yeah. Mark gave me some of that at Masters, man. That stuff's unbelievable. So good.
Yeah, we were there last night partying.
I'm jealous.
It was fun.
All right, and I've just got a Shiner Bock, keeping it simple, but out of my from the draft house here in Austin, my Black Panther promotional glass.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite new graphic art glasses.
Great. So with that said, one last bit of housekeeping before we jump into the tables. So for Capital City Clash here, I do have some unique items that are available to be selected. I think there's 8 or 9 of them that were up this year. At one point, most of those were in somebody's list, but we had a lot of people swapping out their lists, and so there's 3 that you'll hear come up throughout the night. Just real quick to give those out so you know what we're talking about, and we can cover it again when we get to the tables. But the more common one you're going to see is the Axe of Rage, which is a 20-point item for individuals only, which adds 2 attacks to the character's profile. There's also the Aura of Terror, which grants a unit Wind Blast 5 for 25 points. And there's the Jar of Ophidian Fire, which for 10 points is basically equivalent to the Dwarven Throwing Mastiffs. Another thing you'll hear, we're not making mistakes. I do allow items on allies, and so not a lot of people are making use of that, but there are a couple. The items max out at 20 points, so you don't get any of the big auto take things, but you can beef up your allies a little bit. So those are kind of some of the unique little bits from Capital City. And with that, let's jump into Table 1. Which is going to be the start of one of our challenges. And so, of course, here in Texas, we love our challenges. And so this year, the Tabletop Titans called out Dojo for a club challenge. And the way that worked out is the Titans made the challenge, so we called the first matchup. And then the clubs alternated calling matchups back and forth until one club ran out of players. Dustin Howard was already off the board because he had been challenged by somebody else. But everybody else who was attending from those clubs was up. And so that brings us to Table 1, where Jeff Swan called out Brad McKay for the first challenge. And Mark, I think you've got Brad's list, so let's get into it.
Yes, sir, I do. So Brad is bringing Forces of Nature, and he has Twilight Kin allies. Let's kick it off. The very first unit that he's got has one of Todd's new items. He has a regiment of Brave Striders with the Aura of Terror. So that's Wind Blast, right, Todd?
Yes.
Okay. Then he has another regiment. They have Brew of Haste. He has another regiment. They have the Healing Brew. And he has a 4th regiment, Naked. He has 4 hordes of Sylph Talon Riders. One of them has the Fire Oil. One of them has the Heart-Seeking Chant. One of them has the Sane Stone. And the last one is Naked. We move it on to Druids. He has 1 Druid. It has Bane Chant 2. It is mounted on a stag for speed 9. It has Wind Blast 5. And he gave him the Black Iron Crown. He has 1, 2, 3 Pegasuses. Pegasi. Blade of Slashing on one of them, Mace of Crushing on one of them, and Naked for the 3rd one. For his allies, he has a horde of the Dark Scythe Chariots. He gave them the Potion of the Caterpillar, so they're going to have Pathfinder. And then he also has a Dark Avenger mounted on a horse, probably just to keep the chariots inspired. Maybe do a little damage on the way, too. And that is Brad's list.
Okay, so I have Jeff's list. the illustrious one, Jeff Swan, with his top secret Mission Impossible army that was put together and painted very rapidly. So let's get into what he has. He's got 1, 2, 3 hordes of elementals, and he's playing them as Earth Elementals, so they're defense 6. One has Healing Brew, and one has Wine of Elvenkind, which is a Water Elemental. So 2 are Earth Elementals, and then 1 is Water. The Water, which will gain speed 7 and regeneration, he has that one with Wine of Elvenkind, so they're nimble. He's got a horde of 4 Shamblers with Brew of Haste. He also has a Druid mounted on a Stag for speed 9 with Surge 7 and Weakness. He's got Karis, a Tree Herder with Blade of Slashing, a Winged Unicorn with Shroud of the Saint. He's got a Greater Earth Elemental. He's got a Hydra. He's taking the Boulder Guard formation, which I forget off the top of my head. What does that formation do?
Iron Resolve for the Earth Elementals.
Okay.
And the Greater.
And the Greater. So the 2 hordes of elementals that he has, his Earth and his Greater, are going to have Iron Resolve. And then he's got a little bit of allies. He's got a regiment of Guardian Brutes and a Guardian Champion.
So who wants to go first on this one?
I can go first. I know that this looks like pretty much his list that he had at Lone Wolf, minus.
It looks pretty
points.
much on target.
Yeah, it was pretty close. The one thing that I like in Jeff's list, the Iron Resolved Earth Elementals, he's, Brad has a lot of shooting, but it's all like non-piercing shooting. And I don't think Brad had any Alchemist Curse or anything to kind of. So I like the defense that Jeff has. A lot of people poo-poo the Hydra. I think it's great. I like the allies. I think the Guardian Brute regiment's nice. And he has the Guardian Champion in for Inspiring. I don't know. I mean, I know that list, Brad just demolished people with that list. I think Jeff has the tools to do it. I think he's got a lot of defense. I don't think Brad wants to see that much high defense, especially with Iron Resolve. So I think I'm going to go with Jeff in this matchup.
I'll jump in since nobody else has yet. It's honestly going to come down to, can Brad chew through defense 6, right?
Yep.
Because Jeff has, he has what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of his units are defense 5 or higher. I know some of them are a little easier to get around because those Guardian Brutes are slower per se, but I mean, honestly, it's going to be, can Brad get enough damage in on Jeff before Jeff finally gets to Brad? And I think Brad helped himself with having a couple of instances of having the Wind Blast, because he's got 2 units that have effectively Wind Blast, because Todd's item and the Druid, so that'll help a little bit with slowing Jeff down. But I wonder, does Brad's dice go hot and he smokes Jeff early, or do they get into a grind? And I think if that happens, I lean towards Jeff in that scenario. So kind of depends on the table, kind of depends on a little bit of the early positioning. I think either player could honestly take it. So I'm looking more at maybe a low win for one of them, like a 12-point or a 13-point win. I could coin flip between the two. I don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I think the scenario could come into it a lot. Brad has a lot more mobility with his list than some of the slower elementals and whatnot. So that could be a factor, but of course we won't know until the day of what that's going to be. But there it's kind of the there's not a lot of piercing in all that shooting, and there's so much high defense, but at the same time, can Jeff get to him and lock him down and hold him in place? It'll be an interesting matchup. I don't think it's going to be big either way. I think I'm going to go with a slight edge to Jeff. Brad's been on a run. It's got to stop some point. If any list has the tools to do it, this is one of them. So I'll go a small edge to Jeff.
Yeah, I think with Jeff's, you need to be able to take something off in one go. Otherwise, he just regens, heals, or iron resolves it all back. I just played several games against this list over the last few weeks, and it was about 50-50 while he was learning it, but then the last few games, there was nothing I could do against it. He plays it very tight, very well. It's a tough list. Like, there's so much defense and so much heal. I haven't played Brad. I've just heard the word about his birds, and so I'm going to give it to Jeff.
Yeah, looking at the two lists, I mean, Brad's list is just undeniably, it's pretty nasty. We saw what it could do, back at Lone Wolf. But yeah, it's kind of like what Kevin was saying. Like, you can't leave stuff alive in Jeff's list. He's gonna have to overcommit shooting to try to make sure that whatever he shoots at dies. So much heal, the Iron Resolve. He can't rely on dancing around it forever with all so much of it is shambling. You can't get around it to avoid being charged.
Something else to keep a light on is Karis and his solar staff.
Yeah.
Not only does it keep some of the other units from charging, but it can also shut down shooting.
And
big unit that just can't shoot in the turn, yeah.
And pretty much all of Brad's shooting is all on fours. And when you're, relying on fours you can just flub. I mean, he could go with a unit with those, Talon Rider units and not hit anything. And then when the back end of that fours is defense 5 or defense 6, I mean, it's going to be tough for him if he has, like what Mark was saying, if he gets a bad shooting phase of dice or a bad shooting phase and a half of dice, that's going to be really tough to make up that damage against all that defense.
I mean, really, even just a flubbed roll on 1 or 2 units. If they're trying to focus fire down one unit, and one unit doesn't pull its weight, that unit could be pretty much fully healed by the next turn. So I think Jeff probably has this one. I think it'll be tough, but I think something like a 13-7.
Sounds good. I think that's everybody's word in there, and table 1, and we already have a unanimous decision. Brad, you suck. No. No, I think it's going to be a very close and a good fought one. But moving on to table 2, we have yet another challenge. And this one, Zach Clark called out Dustin Howard. And so, Mike, I think you've got Dustin's list there.
Yes, I do. Okay, so we've got Abyssal Dwarves. Looks like this one is just going to be straight Abyssal Dwarves. We've got 2 regiments of the Immortal Guard, both upgraded with the Throwing Mastiffs. Horde of Decimators with the Blessing of the Gods for Elite. 2 hordes of Lesser Obsidian Golems. A horde of Abyssal Grotesques with the Brew of Sharpness. That'll have them hitting on 3s. A Dragonfire team, an Ironcaster with the Circlet of Blood for Blood Boil. Let's see, 2 Supreme Ironcasters on Great Winged Half-Breeds, one of which has Surge and the Amulet of the Fireheart. That's a Surge 10 on that guy. Dravik Dalkin. Not too familiar with him, but it looks like an infantry hero.
He's from Edge of the Abyss.
For the golems, okay. And then Infernok.
Yeah, Dravik's a special character that goes along with Infernok. They're a pretty nasty duo. And Kevin, you have Zach's list there.
Yep. Zach Clark is playing Goblins. He has 2 Legions of Rabble with no upgrades. 2 regiments of spitters, 1, 2, 3 hordes of trolls, 1 with elite, 1 with vicious, the third one naked, 3 troops of Maw Beast packs, King on chariot with Blade of the Beast Slayer, which is a fantastic little unit, Flaget with Banner of the Griffin, a Wiz mounted with Drain Life 6, Inspiring, and a second Wiz also mounted with Drain Life 6 and Black Iron Crown. A Troll Bruiser with the Chalice of Wrath, which is Fury. 2 Mincers and a Giant. That's a tough list. A lot of what I like to see in that. I'm not quite understanding the 2 regiments of spitters. I mean, the 10, 20 shots on 5s is fine, and they're cheap. But I feel like that could be used somewhere else. Maw Beast packs are great. They're a little bit slow, and they got a little bit of a nerf, but they'll be fun. I personally think Dustin is probably going to take this. I've seen Dustin play, and he's the U.S. Paragon for a reason. Also, it kind of angers me that the Abyssal Dwarf Immortal Guard are so much cheaper than Dwarven Iron Guard, but hey, what can I say? I didn't write the rules. So yeah, put me down for Dustin.
So does Dustin played Abyssal Dwarves before?
Yeah, he started with Abyssals a while back.
Okay. It's just interesting because it's like you're looking at this list and it's like, it's like, I want all my big monsters. So let me just get all these guys on half-breeds.
Isn't that typical Dustin, though?
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I like his list. I like Dustin's list. Those grotesques with sharpness are so nasty. And usually how you deal with those is you outspeed them, or you chaff them, or you try to put them clogged, or you put them in a place where they have nothing, where it's difficult for them to attack. But I'm looking at Zach's list, and he doesn't really have a lot of speed. I mean, he's got the King on the Chariot, a mounted Wiz, but other than that, and then a Giant is speed 7. Other than that, he doesn't have a lot of speed in his list, which is probably something that, Dustin is happy to see. And those Obsidian Golems, I mean, they're so tough. And I think the Dravak and Infernok are like, I'm surprised haven't seen more of those. Well, I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot of Abyssal Dwarf players lately in the scene anyway. I played Dustin at at Lone Wolf. And he's the type of player that you can't make any mistakes against because he will just absolutely punish you. So just on that note alone, and just because to beat this Abyssal Dwarf, I think he doesn't want to see speed. And Zach just doesn't have that speed. So I think Dustin's going to be able to get the charges that he wants. And with that horde of Decimators, so many of these units have such low nerve that, I mean, he's going to be able just to pick up stuff, and everything else is just going to give nice back scratches to his Obsidian Golem hordes. So I'm going to go with Dustin.
Yeah, I was hoping to see one of Dustin's other armies. He was trying to get some stuff painted up in time and just couldn't get it done. And so he brought his Abyssal Dwarves back, and this is a really nasty list he's got. Depending on the scenario, that's a lot of shambling, so he's not going to have a lot of mobility to get around. But there's a lot of nasty hitters in there. And this one, I mean, Zach's a great guy, and I think these guys are going to have a good time. But just on the player, I mean, Dustin is Dustin. He's the super beast for a reason. I got to give him the edge and the win in this one.
I would lean towards Zach's list, honestly, because he could chaff the ever-loving crap out of Dustin. The problem is Dustin's got so many things that pick up chaff with those fireballs and the breath attacks. Like, the chaff's going to disappear before Zach can execute with them. So I agree with you. I think Dustin's going to be pretty tough to stop in this matchup.
It feels like kind of matchup dependent, or not matchup, sorry, scenario dependent to me, just because of the fact that, like you typically do with goblins. I mean, he outdrops Dustin by 6 units. And Dustin's not going to have any trouble killing stuff, but can he kill enough fast enough, depending on what the objectives are in the game? Some of Zach's stuff can really stick around for a while. Those Rabble Legions followed up by Drain Life Whizzes are surprisingly survivable. I think it'll be close. I still think Dustin will probably take it, but I think it'll be a close game.
Kev, did you weigh in on this one?
Yeah, I called it right after I read Zach's list.
Okay.
I went for Dustin. I like Zach's list a lot. I think it would be a lot of fun to play, but I agree with Mark. Where my head was going is that there's just not quite enough chaff to keep Dustin from doing what he wants to do.
All right, well, we have another clean sweep on table 2 then. So moving over to table 3, we have Daniel Pacheco from here in Austin against Matt Young of the Hobby Sauce fame. And I've got Daniel's list. Daniel is running Kingdoms of Men. He has a Horde of Foot Guard with the Brew of Strength, a Horde of the Heavy Pikes with the Healing Brew, 3 troops of militia, a horde of berserkers with haste, a troop of bowmen, a horde of crossbowmen with Jar of the Four Winds, a horde of knights with Pathfinder. He has 3 siege artilleries, a general mounted on a horse with the Blade of Slashing, 1, 2, and 3 mounted heroes. And those guys are so good for their points.
So annoying.
And he finishes it off with a standard bearer with the lute. I'm sorry, the ukulele of Insatiable Darkness.
Good catch. All right. Matt is running his prototypical ogres. He has a horde of Berserker Braves with the Brew of Strength. He has 2 Siegebreaker hordes. He has a horde of boomers. He has 2 troops of the Red Goblin Scouts. He has 2 regiments of Ogre Chariots. He has a warlord mounted on chariot with the Banner of the Griffin. He's got an army standard bearer with the war bow of Kabah. He has a warlock with the Aura of Heroism and the Inspiring Talisman. He's got 1, 2, 3 boomer sergeants, and he took the Hell on Wheels upgrade. And that is Matt's list.
That Kingdoms of Men list is fantastic. I
God,
love it.
So
I really love it.
It's so good, and it's so weird. Like, it's playing against it. I played against it a bunch of times, and it's so different than playing against most other lists out there. And between the characters, the artillery, and the militia drops, Dan can see 12 or 13 of Matt's drops before he puts down a single horde.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I think he's got 17 drops, something like that.
Yeah.
And so many of them are just absolute trash. He's not going to let on anything until he has to.
3 troops of militia mob just makes me happy. and the horde of berserkers, I love the Kingdoms of Men berserkers. They're amazing.
Yeah, Dan's been doing pretty good with this list. He had a really good finish at Lone Wolf.
He did, yeah.
He'd been gone for a while. He had moved out to Louisiana and didn't have a lot of guys to play out there. But he recently came back here to Austin, and he picked right back up. Like I said, great finish at Lone Wolf. I like Matt's list. I love Matt's army. The dreaded "Matt's a great guy, but" comment from me. I just think Matt's going to have, I think, a really good tournament, actually. But there's just so much chaff and trash in this list that, yeah, I've got to give an edge to Daniel on this one.
I think it's going to depend on the scenario, like we can say with every match. I haven't met Daniel. I have met Matt. He's a good guy, and he's got a good-looking ogre list. I don't love Berserker Braves in it, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Matt because this is a lot like how I want my ogres to look like when I do them in, I don't know, a year or so.
God, I have literally gone back and forth on who I think is going to win this like 3 times. I want to go with Matt also. The little bit of shooting that he has may help him clear up some of that chaff early, and maybe that gives him more avenues to get done what he needs to do.
Those boomer sergeants are so money.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at. Is like those should be able to pick up some of the cheaper, like the militia mob troops, and any of the other little stuff that Dan may throw his way to try and block him off. If those chariots, or even maybe one of the Siegebreaker hordes, gets to where they really want to go, like Dan might be in trouble. So
the 3 siege artillery is going to give him trouble.
Yeah,
though.
I was looking at that too.
Those are nasty. I mean, he's relying on his defense, and ogres don't have the nerve to take several of those hits.
It's line of sight, right? So like, if Matt can find things that obstruct the field from Dan's artillery and work into that, into those avenues, then that's how he gets around that. Otherwise, it's just hope he doesn't roll good on shooting.
It's gonna be hard with everything height 2 or 3 though.
Well, I'm thinking more like impassable stuff that's height 5 and stuff in the way.
I think this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of list though that Dan doesn't want to play against, because a lot of the power comes from just the base survivability of those hordes, and the ogres have the tools to just hit and crack a horde at a time, which he's got, I think, 5 hordes that make up the majority of his presence on the battlefield, footprint-wise. As they start to go, it'll just get easier and easier for Matt to make his space and get his charges that he wants. So I think he actually could take this one. But if Dan's artillery are just on fire, I don't know that there's much he can do. So barring really hot dice from the siege artillery, I think Matt gets probably like a 12-8 win here. It's going to be a grind either way.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Jeremy. Did you weigh in on this one yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I've been playing a lot against a Kingdoms of Men list very similar to this. And until you face the list, I think with 3 heroes and a general, you don't just quite realize how just annoying as hell they can be. And granted, Matt has some breath, and with the breath plus the being able to move them, the effective range is he is going to be able to put some damage on those heroes. But I mean, that's just so much to get around. I mean, I think it's really going to come down to does the siege artillery soften up some of the stuff so that by the time he's able to shoot off. Matt's able to shoot off some chaff and work through some of this crap. Like when he gets to that foot guard horde and that heavy pike horde, can he get multi-charges, or can he get does he have the durability to sit with those a little bit? That foot guard, 25 attacks on 3s with Brew of Strength plus Bane Chant, I mean, that's gonna kill. That's gonna really kill most things in Matt's list. I know he's good with ogres. He did really well at Lone Wolf. I think it's going to be either a very close win for Dan if he has good luck with his artillery, but if he doesn't get that and Matt's able to pick off that chaff with his boomer sergeants or with some of that ranged, I could see this Kings of Men list getting rolled up. But I'm going to go for, just because I've just seen how powerful this list can be, I'm going to go for, if his siege artillery are on fire, I'm going to say slight win to Dan. But barring that, I think Matt has it. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Dan.
All right. Pretty even split there on that one. Another good table. So moving on to table 4, we have the next matchup from the Titans Dojo Challenge. We have Tom Annis, who had originally called out another member of the Titans who unfortunately had to drop, and so Kevin stepped in. Jeremy, looks like you have Tom's list here.
Okay, yeah. So I have handsome Tom Annis, the everyman of Dojo, and it looks like he is playing Basileans with some elf allies. So it looks like we have a horde of chariots with Helm of Confidence, which this is a really nice use of that 20-point allies can still take magic items because now they're inspired and he doesn't have to worry about that. So that's a really nice pick there. And then in his main list, he's got a horde of men-at-arms, spear. He's got 2 regiments of men-at-arms swords. He's got a horde of Elohai, 2 regiments of paladin knights, Anias Solistus. So I have a sense of what's coming later. He's got a priest with Bane Chant, Banner of the Griffin, 2 Elohai, a war wizard mounted with Loot of Darkness, and he's got both formations, the Holy Lancers formation and the Shield of the Golden Horn formation.
All right. And then on the other side of the table, we've got Kevin with the Drowned Dead undead list. We've got 2 regiments of skeleton warriors. And I love all the titles here. So we've got the Drowned Conscripts and the Drowned Infantry skeleton warrior regiments. Soul Reaver Infantry Regiment with the Brew of Sharpness, dubbed the Drowned Champions. Horde of Revenants, the Drowned Veterans. They have the Undead Giant Rats upgrade for Life Leech 2 and the Brew of Strength. 3 troops of Wraiths, the Drowned Souls, Spirits, and Shadows, respectively. No items on those guys, so 3 stock troops of Wraiths. 2 regiments of Mummies, the Drowned Castle Guard and the Drowned Holy Guard. No items on them. The Drowned Prince is a Revenant King, mounted on an undead horse. He is upgraded to have the Veil of Shadows. And then the Drowned King, Revenant King on an Undead Worm. So Undead Worm with flying. Cursed Pharaoh, and she is the Drowned Princess with the Wings of Honey Maze. And then lastly, the Drowned Sorcerer, a Lich King, upgraded with Heal and the Shroud of the Saints.
Kevin, when was the last time you played Basileans?
It's been a while. A hot while. I guess I played Tom at Shiloh, but I don't think he was using Rordia.
Was he?
Okay. Yeah, so I can't remember. Honestly, it's been a long time.
Well, I'll jump in there. I like both these lists. There's just so much speed in that list with Tom, though. And a lot of little guys who can get in tough angles, get in at some of the characters. Those Elohi are really good.
They are good, yeah.
I know there's some Wraiths that Kevin can counter with. But Tom can just jump in where he needs to and focus a lot of pressure at key points. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Kevin's army completed. I've seen bits and pieces of it. As much as I love my Titan brother, I think it's that his list is going to struggle a little bit, and when you add Tom's going to be a little more comfortable playing this list, is a version of something he's been playing for quite a while now. I think I'm going to have to go with the edge on Tom on this one.
I'm kind of in that boat. The only thing I'm struggling with is I don't see an intense amount of kill power in Tom's list. Like, he looks like he's built more to grind and outlast than he is to go in and wipe stuff off, because the hard part about playing undead is if it's kind of like what we were talking about a couple of turns ago or games ago, tables ago, whatever. It's one of those where he almost has to kill stuff in a single go. Otherwise, Kevin's just going to countercharge with it or pivot and surge or something like that with it.
Yeah, if he doesn't clear something, he's going to give up some bad angles to the surging for sure.
You know what? Honestly, Kevin, you play your undead pretty damn well. I'm going to lean towards you. I'm going to go like an 11-point win, maybe a 12. Because I think you guys are both going to struggle to like take stuff off from each other. But I think with that little amount of, because I'm not even worried about speed, honestly. Either the wraiths make up for that, and then your ability to surge makes up for a lot of the speed. So even if you take a charge, you're going to do pretty well on the back end, giving it back to him. So I'm going to go with Kevin on this. Tom's really good with those Basileans, so you're going to have to watch your ass, otherwise he'll flip it on you.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. This is not what I expected to see from Tom, just because I didn't know he was going back to Basilia, whatever you want to call it. I think there's a pretty good grind set up here, and as long as I can hold up some of his flying nastier characters, I think it'll be all right. I think you're very right about it being a very close win either way. I'm going to give the slight edge to Tom because I have no self-confidence in general. And also, I don't know what the formations do.
The one gives a leap to his,
I was just going to say it's a honey hole off.
Well, I have to play into that somehow. Yeah, the knights are going to hit like trucks, so I'm going to have to stay in the woods.
Well, they'll have Pathfinder from the formation. Sorry, not Pathfinder. No, they have Elite. The Pathfinder is the
Brotherhood one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the Basilean ones is Elite.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. This is a match I would actually like to play Tom like 2 or 3 times with these lists. Like, I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I think Kevin's probably got this one, and I think that he actually has a pretty big edge here, just because so much of Tom's killing power comes from the Alpha Strike, the Thunderous Charge. He's got no way to, get into terrain and kill stuff very well. And Kevin's got the tools to slow down that Alpha Charge with the Wraith troops, Flying Pharaoh, and then the Flying King on the Worm. So it's really going to come down to
that big of a deal, though, is it? I mean, he's hitting on 3s with Elite. If he goes to 4s, he's still Elite. It's a loss. I'll give you that.
With just the Thunderous one, yeah. I mean, that's still. I mean, it's definitely still good, but that's a significant, amount of their punch gone. And against undead, you really can't afford to not hit stuff hard enough.
Tom does have Bane Chant in the list, though. So, I mean, he's going to have to watch out for that, too.
Sources of Bane Chant, because he's got the loot on the wizard.
Yep.
Uke.
And when you're thinking...
mounted? Not the priest. The priest isn't.
The War Wizard is.
War Wizard
the priest isn't.
Kevin's got a Flying Pharaoh, and that's kind of the perfect thing to take care of that. If it comes down to that, I think it's going to end up being a grind, just because both of you have the range to prevent either one from alpha striking that hard, and then I think just undead just wins a grind in that scenario.
I do like grindy lists.
Yeah, I mean
dwarves.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting parallel, right? Because you look at dwarves, the style of dwarves that you play, and you look at this list. Okay, so you have experience with Surge, right? From elementals. Surge is one of those things that it's a little finicky until you get some practice with it. You don't see those angles. You have that. I think this list, and especially against an Alpha Strike, you have a lot of experience with having condensed angled infantry lines so that if you don't pick up any one unit, you're then surging or charging the flanks or whatever. So I think that is something I've seen you do really well in a game. And I think Michael brought it up. You have 3 troops of Wraiths, plus the King on a Worm, plus a Flying Pharaoh. And then all your infantry units, all your stuff's more durable than his. So, I mean, I can't imagine him getting a strong enough Alpha Strike against you that he could start that grind war. He's going to have to start that grind war like 3 or 4 steps ahead of you. Because if you're if you're starting that grind at equal footing with the mummies and everything, you're just going to outgrind him. You just can't do it. So I'm in more lines to, if you don't give up the whole game in the first turn and just quit and go get a cheeseburger and be so sad, I'm thinking that I'm leaning towards a heavy victory. I think I wouldn't be surprised you have a lot left at the end of this game. So for that reason, I'm going to vote for Tom because I've never beaten Kevin and I want him to lose so I can bathe in his tears. So I'm going for Tom.
Don't worry, I'll cry even until I win.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
All right, so that rounds that table off and brings us to table 5, where we have a matchup of Chris Davis and Jeff Daniels. Kevin, if you want to grab Chris's list.
Yep, I've got it right here. Chris Davis is playing Abyssal Dwarves. He has 2 regiments of Decimators. He has 2 troops of Gargoyles. He has 3 Lesser Obsidian Golem Hordes. 1 with Blade of Slashing, 1 with Healing Brew, 3rd Naked. 2 Garog Mortars. I believe those are the light ones. That's interesting. 2 Dragonfire teams. 2 Overmasters, 1 with the Scrying Gem, don't see that often, and 1 with the Wings of Honey Maze. He has an Iron Caster with Surge 8 and Shroud of the Saint. He has Dravik, Dalkin, and Infernok, as you do, or as Dustin did. And he has the Heralds of the Black Flame formation, which, if I remember correctly, is the one that gives the Decimators melee 4 and crush 1.
Correct. All right, and on the other side of the table, we've got Jeff's Salamanders. Jeff's running a Horde of Primes with Brew of Strength to pump that up to Crush 2. He has 2 regiments of Tyrants. 1 has the Blade of Slashing. He has a Horde of Tyrants with the Brew of Sharpness. He has a Horde of the Gekata Sky Raiders with the Jar of the 4 Winds. He has 2 Greater Fire Elementals, a Mage Priest with Surge, Martyr's Prayer, and Banner of the Griffin, a 2nd Mage Priest with Martyr's Prayer and Inspiring Talisman. He has a Clan Lord on Fire Drake with the Wings and Elite. And he's got the Agibanu, which is the special character Greater Fire Elemental, which has Piercing 4 Breath, 12. And then he has the Swamp Lurkers formation, which gives Strider to those Tyrants. And that's his list.
I'll go ahead and jump on this one. I give it to Jeff, all left, right, and center. Good gosh, that is a beautiful Salamander list. I want it in and around my mouth, and I want it all the time. We've seen Jeff do really well. I think he got 2nd place at Shiloh with Salamanders. Yeah, just adding in Abigail, the Greater Fire Elemental, means that Chris's Obsidian Golems are going to be hiding in the corner. And he's got 2 Greater Fire Elementals, which also punch like trucks. I think, Jeff, this is just a bad matchup for Chris. Jeff has all the piercing, all the crushing. So I give it to Jeff.
And he's got all the fucking Martyr's Prayer.
And
so
Surge.
Gross. So gross.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about the surge, dude. He's going to Martyr's Prayer the fuck out of that army. God, that's going to be bad. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Chris's list is actually pretty decent from what I'm seeing, especially with those characters loaded in there. That makes it pretty tough, but good lord, I thought Salamanders couldn't get worse with the Commandant bullshit, but this is up there.
That's a good point. Jeff doesn't have any Commandants, so he could lose.
Yeah, he might lose without the 3 Commandants. Yeah. No, he's not, though. He's going to win.
Yeah, I like Chris's list. I haven't had a chance to actually play this version of it yet. He's got some good stuff in there, but I love Jeff's list. I love Jeff's list at Lone Wolf, and I like this version of it better. I saw Jeff using it at the primer we did in Houston, and he did real well with it. It's such a good list. I've got to go with Jeff in this one.
It's only 11 drops.
And 16 unit strength. But it'll never die, and it'll kill everything.
The Tyrants can definitely die. That's a lot of the unit strength.
Those Tyrants aren't going to die, man. I mean, you got to take them out in one go. Otherwise,
the Martyr's Prayer is so gross.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Chris does have a no, actually, never mind. Yeah, never mind. I take that back.
Chris has what?
Well, he has a little more surge in his list. He does. I'm looking at it. He's got a little more surge in his list. If they get caught in the grind there, maybe he can pull off some shenanigans. The mortars. Well, Chris has the stupid dice. If those mortars go crazy, they can swing things.
Yeah.
It's
not impossible. I mean, it's not like he's destined to lose. He's just not going to win. Right? I'm kidding.
I like the Skyraider Horde with the Draw of the 4 Winds.
Yeah.
I think Jeff will probably take it. It'll be interesting though, depending on the scenario, just because deployment could be a factor with that big of a difference in the drops. Plus, Chris has the Scrying Gem as well. And whenever you're talking about artillery versus big stompy things, you want to be able to line them up in the first turn, and I think Chris can do that. So if his artillery is hot, those casters can pull a bunch of wounds off with Martyr's Prayer, but I think Chris could potentially at least shut them down, if not pick them up, with even just his Flying Overmaster. Can go grab one of them after it's absorbed a few wounds.
Yeah.
Chris has enough tools to make this a tough game.
For sure. Well, it looks like we've lost Jeremy for a moment. He appears to have stepped away, so we'll jump down to... but other than that, it's a clean sweep then on Jeff, although Chris does have some tools, as Mike was saying.
Yep.
So getting on to table 6 then, we have John Hogue, and he is going against late entrant here, Scott Prebig. Scott is Jeff Swan's brother-in-law, coming down to his first event. Nice. Mark, if you want to read Scott's list.
Sure. I'm going to be kind of co-piloting with him because he's played all of one game so far. So Scott is going to be borrowing Jeff's army, and Jeff wrote him a pretty dirty list to help him out, do a little heavy lifting there. So he's got 2 troops of gargoyles. He has a horde of larvae with a dragon shard shield. Some of you are probably already guessing what the rest of the list looks like, and you're right. He's got a horde of lower abyssals with the flying hammer. He has 2 regiments of succubi, brew of haste, brew of strength. He has a regiment of the abyssal guard with the banner of the griffin. He has 1 Ifrit with the heart-seeking chant. He has an abyssal temptress with bane chant, Veil of Shadows, and the Black Iron Crown. She was flying last time, but no need. He's got a Well of Souls. He's got an Archfiend of the Abyss. That does have wings, and it also has the Circlet of Blood. And he rounds it out with a Cronius. So he's got 3 big monsters and a whole lot of fucking dance around demons.
It looks a lot like a Lady of the Lake list.
It's pretty close to it.
Yeah.
All right. And so, Michael, if you want to read John's list for us.
Yeah, so John's playing goblins. Let's see here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 hordes of trolls. One is dubbed the Drunk Trolls, because they have the Brew of Courage. 2 troops of mobbies. 3 units of Fleabag Riders. 2 of them are regiments, and then 1 is a horde with the Brew of Haste. 3 Big Rocks Throwers. A Mounted King with the Blade of the Beast Slayer. He's got a Mounted Flagot with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. A Troll Bruiser. 2 Mincers. Grogger Splittooth. And let's see here. The formation of the Voracious Maw Pack. And that's what I'm not familiar with. Looks like it's the Fleabag Rider Horde and the regiments. +1 to their nerve, waiver and route numbers. And the Horde is granted Strider.
Yeah.
That is very nice. And then lastly, Grogger's Great Lobber.
Good lord, he's got 4 rock lobbers.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I like how he's named them in his list.
Yeah,
also.
Game Ruiner. That's fucking awesome.
I love Scott's list. It's pretty close to pretty much what Jeff was doing before. And I think he's going to have a good time. John's a good guy to play.
Mm-hmm.
John, since he's been running this version of the list, has been doing a lot better. 4 lobbers, man. If those things are hitting, he can take out a lot of those big nasty monsters.
I mean, Matt says those are going to hit, right? Like,
yeah,
he's going to hit with at least 1 of those per turn by math.
Yeah,
if not 2.
Yeah,
it is Scott's first game or first tournament game.
Mm-hmm.
Second game ever.
Yeah, and he's also handicapped with Mark standing next to him. But,
that's going to be tough. Mark's just going to fuck with him left and right.
I am going to definitely do that.
I can see this one going either way because it is a solid list that Scott has there. And one thing John can tend to struggle with is angles on some of those big nasty flyers.
And if Mark's there to point those out, Scott will be able to capitalize.
God, I could go either way, but yeah, even though Mark's there, I'm going to go on the players themselves, and I'm going to give it to experience. And John, that's you this time, so I'll give a slight edge there. He's got a lot of nerve in some of those big units that can take on some hits. I'm going to give John a call here.
I agree with you, Todd. I think, John, this list is pretty rough for a first outing for Scott in a tournament game. Even though Scott's list is pretty balls hard, it's going to struggle because there's a lot of things in John's list that he's going to have to kill, and he's going to have to do it all at once. And that takes a lot of juggling, and it's not something he's ever experienced before. So, yeah, I agree with you. And if those rock lobbers start hitting, he's screwed.
This is really a tough call for me because I like Scott a lot. We were hanging out pretty often, and I like John a lot because he was my last game at Lone Wolf last year, and he was just a blast to play against. A lot of fun. Really active in the community, too. On experience, I would give it to John. If Mark is making a lot of calls, if Mark's not too drunk by 9 a.m.,
gonna be drunk from the night before. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning. So I'm gonna give it to John also. Although Scott, you've got my popular vote.
I'm gonna have to say John too. John, I haven't actually seen this list, and I see you all the time, but this is a nasty list. I really like that. I mean, the 4 Labas are going to be tough, and they're going to make you want to close fast against that list. But it's not often you say you got to be careful about the charge from the flea bags. But speed 11 Strider flea bags with a reroll on their yellow belly roll from Grogger. Yeah, they could just like 28 attacks on 4s. Is enough to really scare anything just because of the variance.
And they won't lose their TC.
Won't lose their Thunderous, won't have to go down on their melee regardless of where they are on the battlefield. Speed 11.
Ensnare.
And then this is just, not even talking about 3 hordes of trolls that you'd have to grind through, if you get around those other things. Yeah, I think this list is just going to be too tough to beat for that Abyssal list. And then once you factor in experience, I think John gets a pretty good win here.
All right. Sounds like we have a landslide call for John. Congratulations, sir. So hitting table 7, we're at the halfway point here. And we have a matchup of Matt Serpico against Rick Hoy. Rick making an appearance. Really glad to have him here. Michael, if you want to read Matt's list.
Yes, he has orcs, so he is winning already. We've got a horde of axes, a horde of great axes, a horde of trolls, a regiment of Pathfinder Gore Riders, a horde of fight wagons, a Crudger on a winged slasher with the healing brew. We have 2 mounted god speakers, both upgraded with Drain Life, one of which has the Inspiring Talisman, mounted Gakamak, a Giant, and then 2 War Drums.
And Kevin, you have Rick's list?
Yes, I do. He's got Empire of Dust, so he's starting off with a horde of skeleton spearmen with the Brew of Strength, 2 troops of skeleton archers, 2 regiments of mummies, one with the healing brew, 2 regiments of scavengers. Those are the fly, life leech 2 kind of chaffy bird things. Regiment of revenant chariots. Don't see those often. A horde of revenant worm riders. Really don't see those often. This one's got caterpillar. Reanimated behemoth. Don't see that often. Pharaoh on a chariot. I like this list. It's got a lot of things you don't see often. 2 cursed high priests, one with heal and Shroud of the Saint. Heal 4 with Shroud of the Saint makes it heal 7. And the other with heal 4 mounted and the Black Iron Crown. Then he's got Pappy, Apaphis, the Champion of Death. That's the new COC 2018 Undead/EOD champion. And he's a son of a bitch.
Yes, he is.
Interesting. This is a very, very different Empire Dust list.
Matt's list hits like a train, though.
Yeah, I really like Matt's list. It's just got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's got good balance of... I mean, it's got good balance as far as like speed versus staying power versus hitty stuff. But then again, I mean, it's orcs, so everything has staying power and hits really, really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing orcs for a while now. This looks a lot like my type of list.
Is it your list?
No. It's really nice. I think it's probably better than some of the stuff that I've been running. I do miss seeing skulks. I think they're great for kind of managing the battle, managing the engagement. But everything hits so hard and has so much staying power. They're not going to care at all about the dread from Apaphis.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of grindy stuff on the EOD side. but even some of the bigger things can just get taken out in one shot by, a big hit from Gore Riders with some Drain Life, or the Great Axe Horde coming in. I think the orcs have it.
Well, with the 2 God Speakers, he can do, if they're near enough hordes, they can do Drain Life 7 or 8 easy, no problem, 9 or 10 even each. So that could cause some problems to the Empire of Dust. The Revenant Worm Riders kind of suck. I want them to be good, but for their cost, they're not great. They're only speed 6. So if there's a way Matt can chaff him up until he gets there with his Great Axe, he'll disappear in no time, or his Fight Wagons even. Hell, the Fight Wagons outrange him.
Dash 17, yeah.
Yeah. I going on experience, I think Rick plays more, but I don't know how much Matt plays. I've seen Matt play a few times here and there, a couple tournaments. I'm going to give it to Matt.
Yeah, Matt's the right call here. Rick, I don't think Rick has played a game since the last tournament he was at, and I could be wrong on that, but I'm going to bet that Matt has played a little bit more recently than Rick has. Yeah, I like Matt's list. I think the orcs are going to win this one.
Neither of these guys plays a whole lot. Matt's when he's here in the summer with me and whatnot, we play a lot. But during the year out there in Houston, there's just not been much of a scene. Poke, Kevin. And so, list on list, I like Matt's list, but I don't know how much he's actually played against a lot of Surge shenanigans. But at the same time, how much is Rick really ready to pull some of that off? I could see it going either way, but I got to go with my boy. I love his orc list, and so I'll give the call to Matt.
There's a fair point. There's 34 Surge in the Empire of Dust list. Problem is there's not really a lot of things that you can surge that'll do a lot of damage. Like the Revenant Worm Riders aren't shambling. If they were shambling, yeah, totally. But I mean, what's he gonna surge? Like Skeleton Spearman Horde? Yay. I mean, they've got Brew of Strength, so that's something, but they still hit on 5s if they're unhindered.
Yeah, the Behemoth.
Yeah, Behemoth's okay. But it's, like most things, the Giant's better than Mammoths because they don't have Strider.
Matt did face off against Dustin and at the last prime or two, and he was taking some hints and tips from Dustin. So
that's good.
If he listened to some of that, that could give him an edge as well.
Yeah, I think just if I was taking that orc list, this is a list I'd be happy to see. This Empire Dust list.
Yeah. Sounds like we've got that then. So moving on to the second half of the tables. Table 8, we've got Jeff Grajeda against the return of the original Dwarf Whisperer, Andrew Heinrich.
That's right.
And let's see, I've got Jeff's list here. My computer will catch up to me.
You got it, or you want me to do Andrews while you check?
I've got it here. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and call Andrews. My computer's being a shit.
Okay, cool. So Andrew is bringing dwarves. He was toying with doing something else from what he told me the other day, but it looks like he's stuck with the dwarves at the end. So here's what he's got, Kevin. Go ahead and start breaking it down. He's got 2 regiments of Iron Guard. He has a horde of Earth Elementals. He has 2 regiments of Brox. One of them has Caterpillar. One of them has Brew of Strength. He has 2 Flame Belchers. He has an Army Standard Bearer with a ukulele. He has a Berserker Lord mounted on Brock with Blade of the Beast Slayer. Shocker, they don't come any other way.
Nope.
He's got a Stone Priest with Bane Chant 2 and Banner of the Griffin. He's got Hernius Hunter. He's got Hernius's Rangers in regiment. He has a Greater Earth Elemental, and he has Kragoth, which I'm guessing is a newer monster that I haven't seen before.
Kragoth is great.
Edge of the Abyss, Greater Earth Elemental that hits on 3. with Vanguard.
He's pretty awesome.
He's got Vanguard and he hits on 3s.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh
nice.
fuck.
Oof, that's
They're
pretty.
just gonna fuck some shit up with that.
Yeah. He's facing a pretty good list though from Jeff, and so Jeff has Brotherhood with Basilean allies, and so on his allies he's got the Horde of Elohi, as you do.
Nice.
And then in the Brotherhood list, he's got 2 regiments of the Order of the Brotherhood on foot. He has a Horde of the Martyrs, and he gave them Brew of Strength. He's got 3 regiments of Order of the Brotherhood, 1 with Elite, 1 with Fire Oil, and 1 with Caterpillar. He has 3 Siege Artilleries. He has an Exemplar mounted with the Inspiring Talisman. He has a Devoted mounted with Heal 4 and Shroud of the Saint, which bumps that up to Heal 7. He has 2 mounted BSBs. One has the Loot, one has Banner of the Griffin, and he has both formations, which means he's going to have 3 sources of Bane Chant in this list.
I could be wrong, but I think one of those formations requires the knights to be a horde. 2 regiments and a horde, unless I could be wrong. I don't have my book next to me.
This is the Brotherhood one? No, this one is just regiments.
Yeah.
3 regiments? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually 2 regiments. So 2 regiments of the Brotherhood and then the Hero.
The
and
hero
the
has to be
regiment
mounted.
Pathfinder.
Okay, gotcha. So all 3 of his regiments have Caterpillar, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
Well,
3
that's-
regiments have Pathfinder.
Listen to the latest episode of Countercharge to hear how people feel about that formation.
And 3 sources of Bane Chant. This is a really, really solid Brotherhood list.
Yeah, that's good. Oof.
And the foot formation turns those Order of the Brotherhood fearless. And am I mistaken, or does it also give them Iron Resolve? Maybe.
Yes.
Yes, it gives them both.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's rough.
Hell, even the Devoted gets it.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to have Andrew back. Those of you listening, playing the Matchup Cast drinking game, Andrew's a really good guy. Go get drunk. Apparently that's a thing now. But I love having Andrew back. He's been away for a while working on his master's degree. He's coming back. I can't wait to see his army. It's a really beautiful Dwarven army. And I think he's got some tools to do good stuff. But this is such a fucking good Brotherhood list, and it's got all the speed that dwarves struggle to deal with. Neither one of these guys plays a lot, but I've got to give the edge to Jeff. I love speed. Speed kills. I'm going to go with Jeff in this one.
Kevin, what do you think?
I'm going to jump in there. The dwarf army is good. I like this dwarf army. But that Brotherhood army with both formations, and I think dwarves are going to rely on their armor, but the Elohi and all the knights can take that away with Thunderous. The problem is going to come whether or not the siege artillery can hit and do some decent damage, because they've got piercing 3, and whether or not the knights can alpha strike something. Because otherwise, if they can't, the dwarf army will outgrind. I think.
It should. Yeah.
It should. Man, that's a tough call. I'm gonna give a slight edge to the Brotherhood though, just because I feel like there's just a couple things that the dwarf army needs. Like it needs one more horde of earth elementals or something, just to have just a little bit more something. I don't know. Iron Guard are good. They're not great. I used to run 2 regiments of them. I dropped it down to 1. I would like to see a second Stone Priest, but he doesn't really need one with only 3 surge targets. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good dwarf list, but I think the Brotherhood one is going to have the slight edge, of course, barring the scenario being wonky.
I think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
But I actually kind of like this dwarf list against the Brotherhood one. Yeah, the Brotherhood one is really nasty, but I do think the dwarf one, I mean, like it always is against cavalry, if you can take away their alpha strike, this is the perfect type of list to grind out against that. And it's got the tools to do that. I mean, the Brotherhood can run in, maybe focus fire down one of these big tough units, and then just get swarmed by the rest of them. If they try to split to take out different targets, they're not going to crack what they hit.
Right.
The siege artillery are going to be a big deal, but I think Andrew can deal with them as well. If nothing else, that's what the Berserker Lord can do, but he's probably going to be just killing things.
Or knocking off TC.
Or knocking off TC, yeah.
I'm going to go top off another beer.
Mark, did we get you to weigh in here?
No, I hadn't jumped in yet. I was going to let him finish up. Yeah, I'm kind of in there with Michael. I think this dwarf list has the tools to do what it needs to do. It's an uphill battle for sure. That's a really, really good friggin' Brotherhood list. And I've played Brotherhood a little bit recently, and I've been really frustrated with them. That those enhancements from the formations make them really good. So Andrew's going to have his hands full. I think, and there's a couple of tricks I see in Andrew's list. I don't want to give it away on here. I think if Andrew can pull those one or two things off, I think he can catch this Brotherhood list out a little bit and get an early advantage and hopefully sustain it through the game. So I'm going to go with Andrew. It's like a 14-6 or a 13-7 type win. So not massive because they both got to kill the shit out of each other. But I think he's really, really stout with this dwarf list.
Cool. So it looks like we have an even split there. Moving on to table 9. We've got Jose Vega and Daniel Anderson. Michael, if you want to call Daniel's list.
Yeah, let's see. All right, so Dan is taking Forces of the Abyss. We have 2 troops of gargoyles, a lower abyssal horde with the Brew of Courage, 2 regiments of succubi, a tortured souls regiment, 2 regiments of abyssal horsemen, one with nimble and one with the potion of the caterpillar for Pathfinder.
Nice.
I like those a lot.
Yeah.
Abyssal Harbinger with the loot, Abyssal Temptress with Bane Chant, and 2 flying archfiends, both of which have lightning brew. One has the brew of lightning bolt. One of which has the brew of haste. One of which has the healing brew.
It's expensive.
Nice. Jose is still running his nature army. He's got a horde of the Naiad Ensnarers, 2 hordes of Earth Elementals, 2 regiments of the Brace Riders. Those are the melee version of the Centaurs. A horde of the Naiad Worm Riders with Vicious. He has 2 Druids. One has Surge and Aura of Heroism and is on foot. The other is mounted and has Bane Chant. He's got the Winged Unicorn with the Lightning Bolt upgrade, 2 Pegasus Heroes, and 2 fully upgraded Beasts of Nature. So they have the Lightning Bolt, the increased attacks, and fly. That is his list.
He's been pretty good with this list, and I know he's been, honing it as he's been playing it more and more over the past couple of weeks, months. Honestly, like the Abyssal list is good. They're pretty evenly matched. God, I gotta go with Jose on this one. I think Jose has a little bit of staying power to help. I think the 2 Beasts of Nature help offset the 2 Archfiends for cheaper. So he's getting away with a little bit of a point save there. And then he's putting more Lightning Bolt on the field. So he's got a little bit longer of a reach than the Abyssal Army does. Those horsemen are going to be tough for him. It's all about how he matches up those ensnares and the worm riders and the striders up to those horsemen, and that'll dictate how the game goes. But I think Jose's got it in his bag of tricks. Give me a 15-5 for Jose.
I wonder why he's got the 2 hordes of Earth Elementals, but he doesn't have the Greater or the Formation. I mean, if you've got 2 hordes, you're 2/3 the way there. I feel like the extra 190 points to get the Greater Earth Elemental and Iron Resolved, all of them, would be pretty useful.
What do you cash in to get that? Because he's got to take a whole unit or 2 to get that 190.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, not that it's a bad call. I mean, it's definitely a good edit, but
the mounted Druid with Bane Chant, maybe, I don't know, or one of the Pegasi.
You have to do both units. Yeah. That Pegasus is fucking awesome.
Yeah. 2 Beasts of Nature's pretty good call.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go both of them fully upgraded. That's a lot of points. It was like, what, 230
It is. Yeah. But, I mean, you look on the other side of the table, he spent over 500 points on the 2 Archfiends.
Oh, easily.
And they're pretty comparable. I mean, the Beasts don't fight as well, but they're pretty close.
Yeah, it's actually over 600 points on those Archfiends.
Like oh shit! Yeah, you're right. It is.
They've got wings.
It's like 680.
I mean, I run double fiends too. They can be really nasty. Daniel's a newer player though, and I come back to something Mark had said is that that the Beasts of Nature kind of mirror those fiends, but do it cheaper. And Jose's got so many other flying monsters in that list that can pull off different tricks. He's got heal and just a lot of different things in that list. I mean, it could go either way. Both are pretty quick, fast lists. I think in the end, what swings me to Jose's way though is he's just got some more units that can hang around, hold an objective, hold a spot if they need to. I don't see as much that's gonna stay in a grind for Daniel, and so I'll take Jose in this one.
Yeah, because I mean the highest nerve value that Dan has on the table is what 23 with the lowers, and then below that you go to like 16.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
16 and Snare Stealthy.
18 on the Archfiends.
Oh yeah, 18 on the Archfiends, but I mean those guys are going to be playing dance off with the Beasts. Yeah.
Yep. But one of those does outrange the Beast because he's speed 11.
Speed 11, yeah.
It's going to be an interesting game.
Those Abyssal Horsemen, if they don't get picked up early, are so good.
Yeah, they can be money.
Especially with the Elven kind on one of them.
Yeah,
that's going to be impossible to pin down. You just got to kill it, which, I mean, Jose's got the lightning to do it.
Yeah, definitely has plenty of lightning bolt.
I like lightning bolt on the winged unicorn, but I would like to see heal or Shroud of the Saint on there, or Black Iron Crown or something. Beef it up. Heal 10 on the winged unicorn is disgusting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Repeatedly from Jeff over the last few weeks. It's just
man. But the Beast of Nature with the vicious lightning is so money too.
Yeah.
Where you leaning at there, Mike?
The lists are so similar. The more that I look at them, the more they look like they're trying to do almost exactly the same thing. I like the Forces of the Abyss one though, actually. I haven't actually played against Dan, but I've seen him at Dragon's Lair getting games in pretty regularly. His army's beautiful, by the way. As is Jose's. I've seen his too. They're both. It's going to be a really nice looking table. This would be a fun one to watch. But I think Dan can probably take this one.
All right. Well, moving along then, making progress here. We're up to table 10, where we have Justin May against James Barton. So, Kevin, if you want to grab Justin's list.
I would, except that I clicked on it. All it is a big picture of cheese. My gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hordes of revenants. This is undead. 5 hordes of revenants. What the actual? Every single one of them has the undead giant rats for life leech 2, and the 5th and final horde exchanged their shields for 2-handed weapons to gain crush 1 and defense 4. 2 troops of mummies.
That's so random.
It's kind of bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, you just traded one of them out.
Naked. Revenant King on Undead Worm, named 1/1. Must be a Snake Eyes roller. I don't know. A Vampire on an Undead Dragon with Lightning Bolt 3 and the Fanulian Amulet.
Nice.
2 Lich Kings. One with replacing Surge 12 with Heal 6 and Shroud of the Saint, giving it Heal 9.
Nice.
The other with Lightning Bolt 5 on a horse, also replacing Surge with Heal, and a Black Iron Crown. This is different. I'll tell you that.
So he's got no Surge other than
No
the
Surge.
dragon?
He doesn't need to.
The dragon and the dragon and the worm.
2 Lich Kings also.
The Lich Kings
No, but
traded those out.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's got Surge 6 from the King on the Worm and Surge 2, or 3 from the Undead Dragon. The Vampire.
And Kevin, you do lose nerd cred there. This is the White Walker army from Beyond.
Okay. Gotcha.
With 1/1 was the giant and so this is an undead 1/1 coming back.
Gotcha.
With the White Walkers. It's a pretty cool army.
Nice.
Well, that explains all the revenants.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it looks really nice on the table altogether.
That is so much nerve.
Painted, but it does look nice just having all the models out there.
Yeah. And so James is bringing Varinger. He's got 3 regiments of thralls. He's got a regiment of Bloodsworn, then 2 hordes of the Bloodsworn that gain fury. He has 3 troops of horse raiders who have picked up bows for the longer range shooting. He has a horde of the Direfang Riders who also have fury. 1 Magus Conclave. Then he has 2 Maguses. One of them is mounted with Elite, Drain Life, and the Inspiring Talisman. The second one is on foot with Banechant, Elite, Drain Life, and Fireheart. He has a King on Chimera with a Healing Brew and a Mounted Scald. And that is James's list.
These are probably the most different 2 lists that we've had playing each other.
You could say that again.
Yeah. Huh.
Boy, that undead list just has my head spinning with all that nerve.
Yeah, I
just in Revenants, it's 120 nerve.
This isn't
and heal 12.
This isn't exactly a fast Varinger list like you see a lot, but with so little surge in Justin's army, the Varinger do have the definite speed advantage in here. Depending on the scenario, that could come into play.
But, I mean, other than the freaking Dire Fangs, What is James going to do to Justin that's going to take off one of those hordes in one round of combat? Like, he's got to throw 4 units at it, basically. And if he doesn't kill, then he gets countercharged. Like, he's going to get swarmed.
The disadvantage, and what I kind of wish this undead list, I wish it kind of broke up the revenants into regiments.
A few regiments, yeah.
Yeah, at least a couple of them.
You can checkerboard a little easier.
Yeah, the hordes, he's going to have a really tough time, especially without Surge, getting them to swing all the way around and like clamp down and punish somebody for getting stuck in on a first horde. Yeah. So I don't. Maybe he plays it better. I don't know either of these guys.
I'm going with Justin. I think Justin wins this just because James can't kill enough of him.
Yeah, I think James is going to have a hard time killing enough of Justin. I agree.
Not that he can't. He could, but I mean, it's going to be tough.
The other thing is James has been playing a lot of other lists. This is pretty new. I haven't actually even seen him play this Varangur list. I've seen him doing a lot of Kingdoms of Men recently. So I don't know how much practice he has with this. Gosh. I just think it's going to be a lot scenario dependent.
Yeah.
James is going to have a hard time getting through all the nerve on all those hordes, but depending on if you have to get out somewhere quickly or have something you can throw out to grab a table quarter or grab an objective, James is going to have the advantage in that area.
And Justin's going to have a hard time killing James too. I mean, he doesn't have, other than the mummies and a little bit from the dragon, he doesn't really have a whole lot that does a lot of damage.
Right. There's almost no punch in that list.
Yeah.
Just to be contrarian, I'm gonna go with James on this one.
I'm gonna go with Justin. This list it's so hard to kill. It's hard to kill anything. I will say that James actually has more unit strength than Justin does.
Yeah.
So like if that grindy board position, win on objectives is Justin's goal, he actually starts behind on that, just on unit strength at least, and gets outmaneuvered by James as well. So depending on the scenario, Justin might have a harder time being where he needs to be. But as far as just list on list grinding it out, I think Justin's wins.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think one of them or both of them time out, just trying to roll through all the dice to grind through each other. I don't see either of them getting like a clean victory.
I can tell you this: one of these two players might win this game.
Maybe.
I'm so confused by these two lists.
I'll go ahead and go Justin too, just because I like the ballsiness of the crazy amounts of nerve, and the White Walker theme sounds really cool.
Great. So that's that table. So coming down to table 11, we're back to another challenge where we have Jordan Lawrence against Mr. Robbie King. Mark, right. If you got Robbie's list.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. Let's see what he's doing. Oh, he's doing his elves again. All right, let's take a look. So this looks pretty similar. So he's got 1, 2, 3 regiments of Palace Guard. He has a troop of Glade Stalkers. He has a regiment of Stormwind Cavalry with the Brew of Sharpness. 2 Drakon Rider Hordes. He's got a Horde of Chariots. They have the Potion of the Caterpillar. He's got 2 Bolt Throwers. He has 1, 2 Army Standards. They are both mounted. And he has a Dragon Kindred Lord with the Brew of Haste, and that rounds him out at 2250.
All right. And Jordan is sticking with his Twilight Kin here. He has a regiment of the Crossbows. He has 2 regiments of Blade Dancers. One of them has Fire Oil, and the other has Hammer of Measured Force. He has a troop of Gargoyles, a troop and 2 regiments of the Dark Knights. The regiments, one of them has Banner of the Griffin, and one of them has Caterpillar. He has a horde of chariots with elite. He has a Hydra, a Dark Lord on Pegasus with Blade of Slashing, a Dark Lord on Dragon with Brew of Haste. I love that dragon. That's the best dragon in the game for my money.
Sure is.
And then finally we have someone running some of these Clash items. He has the Assassin with the Axe of Rage, which bumps him up to 6 attacks on that bad guy. And that is Jordan's list.
It's got some interesting item selections. Banner of the Griffin on one of the Dark Knight regiments, and then the Hammer of Measured Force on the Blade Dancers seems a little odd, but there's no Bane Chant in the list, so that's about all he's got to deal with, like Defense 6.
Yeah, and not a lot of inspiring in the list either.
No, it's just the Pegasus and the Dragon.
He's pretty good about keeping those tight in his lines, typically.
The Assassin with the Axe of Rage is money.
Yes,
yes,
it is.
Straight money.
That is going to be a very annoying character to deal with.
I mean, honestly, when you put the two lists together, they're just kind of
a little bit of a mirror.
Yeah, different versions of each other, just slightly. Like Robbie shoots a little bit less than Jordan does, but I mean, they've almost got a 1-to-1 ratio of, well, here's my chaff, well, here's my chaff, here's my knights, here's my knights type thing.
The double Dragon hordes, though.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to pull for Jordan. Jordan's army is actually one of my favorite ones I've seen painted recently. The OSL he has on those things is just stupid.
Yeah, this will probably be the prettiest table.
This is going to be such a pretty table to look at. But what Michael mentioned, the Draken hordes, because these are such close lists, I think those Drakens being able to pick their charge could really swing this. But then again, if Jordan gets first turn and can move up and put the pressure on Robbie, that swings it right back the other way.
I think the only thing that gives me pause in Jordan's list really is the Regiment of Crossbowmen, because he usually runs those as shadows, and they're really good at shadows. I guess he just didn't have the points, maybe. I'm going to give slight edge to Jordan. I haven't seen Robbie play elves. I wasn't at Lone Wolf this year.
He did pretty good with them.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Jordan. Probably 13-7.
I'm going to go with Robbie, and the only reason I'm doing that is because Jordan has this like monkey on his back when he goes to GTs. He just takes the stupidest, dumbest losses, and you're like, how did that happen? I think having that monkey on his back is going to be the kicker that lets Robbie pull a win out here. But otherwise, I could almost go for a draw on just list on list with these.
I think that the Drakons are going to make the difference as far as who picks the fights, but Vicious is better than Elite. And the Horde of Chariots that Jordan has are Elite and Vicious. They're going to be shooting Elite and Vicious until they run something over with Elite and Vicious. I think I like Jordan better in this matchup. I think he wins probably something like 12-8, though. I think this is going to be a lot of dancing, and then everything's going to die really fast. But I think Jordan comes out on top by a little bit.
Yeah, they're kind of both glass hammers. So if the bolt throwers are on and the war chariots are on, Robbie will probably have a little small victory. But
yeah, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be bloody. I think if those bolt throwers can put some early wounds on, you couple that with the speed advantage on those Drakens picking their alpha strike potentially, that could swing things. Gosh, I've gone back and forth like 3 or 4 times on this. So you know what? I love assassins. I love assassins with Axe of Rage more, and so I'm gonna go for that guy just gumming up something that Robbie wants to do, and I'll give Jordan a slight edge here.
One thing too about managing that initial engagement, Jordan's got that troop of gargoyles. That's one thing that sticks out as being very different than anything Robbie has to get up and
if you can keep
things.
them alive.
I mean, I doubt they're deployed in front of anything that's shorter than them. Or I'm sorry, taller than them. They'll probably be behind something until they need to jump out and get in the way.
I hope so.
It's a really good looking unit too. When you guys see the gargoyles, you're going to be really happy.
Yeah, I love those guys. All right. So moving along, we have table 12, or I should say table play wherever the fuck they want on Friday night, because you know Q. So yeah, we've got Q coming up from Almo with against Sam Barr here. Michael, if you want to call Q's list.
All right, Q has Forces of Nature. Let's see, 2 regiments of Hunters of the Wild, 1 with the Brew of Strength and 1 with the Hammer of Measured Force. We've got 3. I love this army already. 3 Hordes of Forest Shamblers, 3 Centaur Chiefs, a Tree Herder with Drain Life and the Blade of Slashing, a Winged Unicorn with Lightning Bolt and Blessing of the Gods. We've got 2 Beasts of Nature, both with Lightning Bolt and Vicious, and 1 of the 2 has Flying.
I've got Sambar. He's running Varinger, King Varthime's Honor Guard. He has 2 regiments of thralls called Tribute, a horde of Bloodsworn called the Royal Guard, with the Gift of Korgon of Fury and the Healing Brew. The Wanderers are a horde of the Fallen with Brew of Strength, like you do. Mounted Sons of Korgon called the Frostwolves, the regiment with Fury and Caterpillar.
As you do.
Like you do. 2 Devourers, both with Breath 10 Vicious, and 1 called Ice Blood, the other Frost Tooth. A Cavern Dweller called the Mountain Keeper. A Magus Conclave named Frostfire, with Famulus, giving it Elite. A second Magus Conclave called Cold Lightning, giving and Famulus with Elite. A King on Chimeria called King Varthime, also with Fury, Mace of Crushing. And Magnilda of the Fallen. It's a fairly typical Varinger list. Got a little bit of everything. The 2 Devourers are awesome.
Yeah, I love Devourers.
And the Cavern Dweller's not bad. I mean, it's a giant, basically.
Yeah, actually, I think the Cavern Dweller is maybe the best giant, quote-unquote, in the game. It's money.
Yeah.
I love the monsters he has in that. I like Sam's list a lot.
I wish Q's list, I wish the 3 Centaur Chiefs had bows, just for that little bit of pick damage. I don't know why he gave Drain Life to the Tree Herder.
I think that it's funny because the triple Forest Shamblers, the double Hunters of the Wild, the Tree Herder, all have Vanguard, so you want to jump all over something. This Varinger list is not one that you want to be 12 inches away from to start the game, though.
Yeah, you don't want to be up in the grill of any of this. And he didn't give Brew of Haste to anything, so nothing gets a first turn charge.
First turn charge, yeah.
But he does have a lot of opportunity to set up for some really good. If you don't think about it, you don't look at it, all that stuff right up in your face on turn 1, you know, that can be scary to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much Sam has played against Surge. You know, he's been a tabletop wargamer for a long time. He goes back to the Warhammer days, but he just recently picked back up with Kings of War with us. He was up at Lone Wolf, so it's not like it's his first go round.
His first round at Lone Wolf was against a pretty Surge heavy undead though too.
Okay.
Well, and honestly, there's only the Tree Herder with Surge 8 and the 3 Forest Shamblers. Like the rest of the stuff doesn't really. I think Surge is kind of a side effect of this army. I don't know that Q and Jen are taking full advantage, or that's not their goal, maybe. I don't know. The Hunters of the Wild are really interesting. They're kind of in a weird place in general as a unit, so seeing 2 of them is nice. They're they can be meat grinders when they need to. But part of the hard part of that is getting them somewhere alive. And with 2 elite Magus conclaves, they could possibly waver one in the first turn. So maybe if
he sets up on the line, though, I mean,
right?
Yeah.
If Q can keep, well, they're 36-inch range. I mean, and he vanguards, so
yeah, so he doesn't need to.
True.
So I mean, he's got 5 things vanguarding. He's going to be up in their shit.
6
first turn. Sorry, where? Oh, you're right. Yeah, yeah, there he is. Yep, see him there. Yeah.
That's really
okay. Let's roll for first turn. Hold on, I get the vanguard. Here's half my army. Shit.
You know, Sam's shooting could pick up some things, but I'm gonna have to say what swings it on me here. And I know Sam's got a week to get ready for this and to think it through, but he's never faced a list like this. But Q has run maybe not this exact list, but he's run some stuff similar to this.
He's a smart motherfucker.
Yeah, and so just putting the lists aside, I mean, if Sam gets nervous, he sees all that stuff in his face, he makes a mistake. Q's got the experience to punish that. Q knows what he's doing. I'm going to give the win to Q here.
I think I'm going to follow you and give it to Q as well. The Varangur list is a good list. I like all of the stuff in it. Like, there's really not much missing from it. Magnilda's okay. 175 points is a lot to spend on her. I'm going to give it to Q.
If they're playing Friday night, I'm going to give it to Sam. Because Q likes to get drunk and he starts making charges where he's like, fuck it. And it's like one of those, well, I've got a 1 in 7 chance. If the 1 hits, then I do really good and I win the game. And then if the other 6 hit, then I'm fucked. And he likes to do those types of things when he's drinking a lot. So
and Jen's not actually going to be there to keep him
she's not?
sober. No.
Oh, I did not know that.
Just Q coming.
Oh,
so he's going to die of alcohol poisoning Friday night.
That's why you get to sleep in on Saturday morning. Yeah, I'll go with Sam on this one.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna have to go with Sam too. Looks like the biggest thing that you're paying for with all that Vanguard is to close quickly, and that's just fine with Sam.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like we have a split table there. So we're getting down the list a bit here. We're up to table 13, where we've got Michael Percy and Lex Simon. I've got
a pretty lucky table for me.
I've got Michael's list here. He is running Ratkin.
Nice.
And so he's bringing 2 regiments of tunnel slaves, a regiment of warriors. He has a horde of shock troops, a horde of blight with brew of strength, a troop of claw shots with the brew of keen eyeness, 3 troops of scurriers. One of those get piercing and upgraded to light crossbows to get the 24-inch range. He has a horde of brutes, a regiment of vermintide, a weapons team with piercing, a warlock with banechant and inspiring, and 2 assassins, one of them with wings of the honey maze, and one of them running the Axe of Rage for the 6 attacks. Add in the Flying Demon Spawn, as you do, and the Dusk Crawlers formation, which gives one of those assassins inspiring and grants the Scurriers Vanguard. Does it give them anything else, Mike?
Vanguard and Stealthy. Yeah.
Vanguard and Stealthy.
All 3 troops.
All 3 troops, yeah.
And so that is Michael's list.
And I didn't write it down, but the one that's part of that formation and inspires is the Axe of Rage Assassin.
Okay. Mark, you've got Lex's list there.
Yep. Pull that up. All right. Lex is running this Trident Realm list that he fell in love with. I think it was this event last year. So he's got 2 regiments of water elementals. He's got Flying Hammer on one of them, Warbow of Kaba on the other. He's got 1, 2, 3 Depth Horror Hordes. He's got 2 greater water elementals. He has a Kraken. He has a Nucker. He has a Mythican with Bane Chant 2, Surge 7, Drain Life 6, and Inspiring Talisman. He's got a Depth Horror Eternal with Banner of the Griffin. He has a Worm Rider Centurion with the Dark Lord's Onyx Ring. Is that one of the items that you gave? No,
no, it's actually upping that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he rounds it out with the Siren. That is Lex's 2250.
It looks oddly familiar.
No, he's running regiments, not hordes.
Yeah, it echoes. It's not the same.
Well, he's modified it because he ran something a little more similar to Jeff's thing at Lone Wolf, and I think he's starting to. Based on literally just seeing 2 lists, I think he's just experimenting now with different things. It's interesting.
I mentioned being lucky. I appreciate I don't know if it was happenstance, but I appreciate that I'm at table 13 with my rats.
Oh yeah, that's fortuitous. That's going to help you a long ways.
Is Lex out of Austin?
Yeah, he is. Okay. He's a really good player too. He doesn't get a lot of games in, but he's a solid player.
He's a very, very smart player. Yeah.
I'm glad to be able to play him here round 1 actually, because we haven't played in a good while.
Yeah.
Dark Lord's Onyx Ring on a Worm Rider Centurion is stupid.
It's annoying. Yeah.
Regen 3+. Ugh.
When you can't roll those 4s, go to a 3+.
That's it.
I'm still not sold on the Scurriers yet.
Yeah.
But I love rats, and Mike, I love that you're trying to do something different with them. I love Assassin so much, and Wings Assassin, getting that 20-inch Vanguard if you want, for first turn charges, and then the Axe of Rage on the other. There's a lot of stupid things you can do there. Ultimately, I think this is not a great list matchup for Lex.
No, it's not. Not at all.
He has a few units with higher defense, and he's got some things he can do here, but Trident Realms just don't like shooting, and Mike is stacking some shooting and a lot of tricks, a lot of different things that people aren't used to seeing with this list too.
He's not stacking a lot of shooting, but the shooting that he has is enough to give Lex problems.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mike on this one.
Depth Horrors going to Fearless is a big deal for all that shooting.
True. Yep.
And honestly, the Depth Horrors are going to chew through a lot of things that they hit. But like you said, the Winged Assassin can ping off between the Siren and the Mythican.
Well, I mean, you got to remember that Mike has got those hordes in front of his army line. Those Depth Horrors are probably going to wind up fighting the hordes and not the stuff that's shooting.
Yeah.
Unless Mike decides to sacrifice them for some reason. But, I mean, there's a couple of things on Mike's list where I was looking at Lex's list and I was like, all right, Lex has a puncher's chance with a couple of things. And then I got down to that assassin with the Wings of the Honey Maze, and I was like, all right, that's pretty much going to take the X factor for Lex out of the game if I think it plays out the way it might. So I'm going to go with Todd. I'm going to lean towards the rats in this one. I like Lex's list. I don't see it having an easy time against everything that Mike's bringing to the table.
I have a couple of questions about some of the choices in the Ratkin list. Like Keen Eye is a lot to spend on the claw shots. Hitting on 3s is awesome, especially with piercing 2. But there's only 5 attacks, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see it happen, see it work out.
Scurrier's fours. No, threes. You're right.
He's got keen eye on it. Yeah. Scurriers, they seem a little expensive. I could be wrong.
They are. You're right.
They seem a little bit expensive, but the formation will be very helpful. The demon spawn is awesome as always. The 2 assassins kick ass. I'm glad there's not a Doom Bell, just because I like seeing a little bit of a different rat list. I would have given the Blight Pathfinder and the Shock Troop strength, but I don't know. It's not bad. I think Mike, you got this on list. Especially a lot of the Trident Realms. Too. Well, a lot of the Trident Realms is going to rely on that trick of pulling with the Siren and surging with the Mythican, and that Assassin's cheap enough that he doesn't care who he's pinging off of. He's going to hit them both.
Yeah, you get either one. Yeah.
It's not like a Flying Pharaoh where you're dedicating almost 200 points to go after some.
Well, you've got a Vanguarding contingent, right? So I'm not telling you how to do things, Mike, but if it was me, I'd probably be setting those guys up last on maybe more of the open empty board, and that's where I would Vanguard. Then again, it depends on the layout and everything else, but I'm with Todd. I don't know that I like the Scurriers even with the formation, but I'm interested to see how he does this weekend with them. This coming weekend. Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah, I mentioned that if I'm bringing a list that doesn't confuse people when they look at it, then I haven't done my job right. Yeah, I think I've actually had a good bit of practice with this list against Trident Realms. It just so happens that Mark and I have been playing on Universal Battles a few times, this one against his Trident Realms. So I was actually pretty happy to see them in the first round as my opponent. I'm pretty confident about that matchup. But yeah, I think I guess fitting for Assassins and Scurriers, but I'm relying a lot on the smoke and mirrors aspect of my army, just confusing the hell out of my opponent.
All right. So moving on then, we have Table 14. We're back to another of the Dojo Titans matchups. Michael, if you want to grab Matt Carmack's list, Kevin, could you tee up Lance's?
Yep.
All right. I'll go ahead and go. Matt Carmack. This list is awesome. Yes. Empire Dust. We've got 2 regiments of Swarm. And then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regiments of Revenant Chariots. One of which has the Banner of the Griffin. And then 2 hordes of chariots, one of which has Fire Oil. 2 Bone Giants. A Pharaoh with the wings. And 3 Pharaohs on chariots, one of which has the Blade of Slashing.
Go chariots.
Lance Kennedy is bringing Abyssal Dwarves. He has a horde of Decimators, 2 hordes of Slave Orcs, 3 troops of Gargoyles, a regiment of Slave Orc Gore Riders, don't see those often, 2 hordes of Abyssal Grotesques, 3 heavy mortars like you do, a Slave Driver, a Half-Breed Champion, Pazuzu, and the Broken Slaves formation.
Holy fuck.
It's pretty compact. I don't remember what the Broken Slaves does. I think it takes away Yellow Bellied or something?
No, when they're within 6 inches of their Slave Driver, they get +2 to their nerve.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
And they have Fury.
Something else. Yeah, Fury.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, why
Abyssal Dwarves needed help. That's what they needed.
That's going to be an interesting match.
It really is. If those mortars hit, that can really pick some stuff up.
Yeah. But with 3 of them, you got at least one hitting a turn in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Carmack's list, and he was building this. For those who don't know, he was building this list before Chariots ever got
chariot change. Yeah,
he did, and he's had a lot of fun playing it. I like this version. This is a kind of a new twist on it. He was running 2 of the Pharaohs. Those Pharaohs on Chariots are great.
They're so good.
Picking up the 3rd one of them, I love that change. Getting a couple Giants in there, I love that too. I really like this version of Carmack's list, and Matt's been doing pretty well with it.
He's got 32 Surge. If he wants to put it all on one thing, he could get right up in Lance's face.
He'd have to stagger properly to do that, but it's not impossible.
But I mean, even if Lance blows up a regiment of Chariots, so what? It's 115 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lance's list is pretty nasty, though.
It is.
Well, that it's interesting to me that he only has 1 slave driver, because that formation is not specific to that slave driver. But with just the 1, I mean, you pick up that slave driver, the whole formation just dies.
It's true.
Well, it loses the bonus nerve. It doesn't like.
Well, you lose 2 nerve per horde and fury. I mean, you lose the whole bonus of the formation on a 10-12 individual.
Let's see, fury does it?
And Matt's got enough shooting. If he wanted to, he could throw it all at that guy till he dies. It's all height 3.
Or just drop the Flying Pharaoh on it. But the Flying Pharaoh, I mean, most likely is just gonna go clean up those mortars.
Yeah, which is a pretty good use for it.
Yeah.
He's got to watch out for getting burned off by the decimators, though, depending on how things play out. Yeah, I'm gonna give the edge here to Carmack. He's been doing pretty well with this, and I love his list. I've got to go with that list. Yeah.
God, 2 hordes of grotesques.
Yeah, it's a really gross Abyssal Dwarf list. I think I'm going to give it to Carmack just because it's such a gross Abyssal Dwarf list.
I think
for Matt.
I think Lance actually has the tools to slow up Carmack just enough to get the extra rounds of shooting that he's looking for. It's going to be bloody either way, but god dang, I think Matt can pull it off. But I'm going to go with Lance on this one. Fucking Basusu is a dickhole. He's going to go through and like ping all those chariots on his way. Yeah, put me down for Lance. 15-5.
All right. So we've got another even split on that one. Or no, Michael, did you call it?
I mean, I mentioned some stuff, but yeah, I think Carmack has this one.
Okay.
The triple chariots and the double bone giants. That's super compact. You can just put any number of those onto one thing, and just delete it.
All right. So we're down to our last 3 tables then. Table 15. We've got again a couple of new players facing off each other. Matt Wolf and Brody Beck. Matt is out of Austin, and Brody is coming down with the Abilene crew. Kevin, if you'll read Matt's list, I'll grab Brody's.
Yep. So Matt has Abyssals. He starts off with 2 regiments of Fleshlings, a troop of Gargoyles, 2 regiments of Abyssal Guard. Those are the hits on 3 guys, and both of them have exchanged shields for 2-handed weapons, giving them crushing 1.
Nice.
A horde of Molochs with a healing brew, 2 regiments of Tortured Souls, a Abyssal Harbinger with Banner of the Griffin, an Ifrit with the Boots of Levitation, pretty solid choice. Well of Souls, 2 Archfiends, both with wings and lightning bolts, 1 with Blade of Slashing, and that hits 2250.
Nice.
Solid list.
It is.
Brody is bringing dwarves. He has 2 regiments of Ironclad. He has a horde of Ironclad with a Staying Stone, 2 troops of Rangers, 2 hordes of Elementals, 2 regiments of Brocks with Brew of Strength and Caterpillar, as you do. 2 Flame Belchers, a Standard Bearer with the Loot, a Berserker Lord who has Elite. No, just kidding. That's Blade of the Beast Slayer, as you do.
Why have it any other way?
He has a King with Wings of Honey Maze and a Stone Priest with Bane Chant.
He's missing 10 points here.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he 10 points short on purpose?
Let me go back and double check if he had said something about having a different item on there.
I looked at your rubric and he didn't have that listed.
Oh, he has. I'm sorry. He's supposed to have a Gem of Power on the Stone Priest.
Okay.
Which will it's a 1-use item that grants 3 extra dice to a single casting.
Ooh. Okay.
That's pretty nice.
Surge 11.
Surge
Okay,
11.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, or Bane Chant 5. That's cool.
I got to take some umbrage with this dwarf list. It's got all the things it needs for the Wall of Iron formation, except for the Bulwarkers, but you could change the Horde of Ironclad over and play with the points a little, and just make that give them all Iron Resolve.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little more points, but I don't see any reason not to do that. If you're taking the 2 regiments of Ironclad and the King, I don't see why not.
It could come down to modeling, not having spear models.
Other than that, it's a really solid dwarf list. I mean, it's got pretty much everything you want in a dwarf list.
Brody's a solid player, dude. He his first GT was Lone Wolf, and it sounded like he's here now, so he got bit by the bug, which is great. So I figure he'll kind of increase his skill as he goes. This is a tough fucking Abyssals list, though.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's a really good dwarf list. It's something that I would definitely play, but I don't know that he has the tools to deal with the 2 Archfiends.
3 big flying monsters coming right at him.
Yeah, and dealing with those kind of flankers is tough with only 1 Stone Priest and no Greater Earth Elemental.
Yep.
So fair warning on this one. Matt is a really cool guy. So yes, if you're listening out there,
where's the butt
take
coming?
another shot. But he's normally a dwarf player, and he has not got his army up to GT standards for him. We've all been encouraging him to come, and he just wasn't comfortable with it, and so he's taking out the Abyssal list that I should have taken to Lone Wolf. And so those will be my Abyssals. But that means he doesn't have a lot of experience running them.
But he knows how to dismantle a dwarf army, apparently.
Yeah.
Still a pretty good matchup for Matt.
It's a pretty good matchup for him, but if he gets caught out with those flyers and Brody turns and surges into something that he didn't see, that could be a big difference, especially with that Gem of Power giving him a Surge 11 chance.
Does he know how to use the Well of Souls, do you think?
I'm sure he's thinking it, and he'll definitely get some input from me, and he'll get some practice games on Tuesday with it.
Okay, because that can swing the game right there. If he doesn't know how to use the well, then
good point.
I might go back to Brody.
Yeah, list on list though. I think this Abyssals list is made to take apart this dwarf list.
I agree.
And both guys are newer players, and so I don't think there's any inherent advantage. And so I'm gonna give Matt the round 1 win here.
Yeah, I want to see the dwarves win. This honestly just makes me think of Jeff's list, Jeff's Abyssal list that he's given to Scott.
It's pretty close.
It's very close. I mean, you sub out 1 Archfiend for Acronius, and that's about it. I mean, it's close. It's going to depend. Like, if the Abyssal list has good piloting, it will absolutely wreck the dwarf list. On vice versa, if the dwarf list is prepared keeps a cool head, takes it slow and steady like a dwarf should. I think he can pull out the win. I do wish it had the formation with bulwarkers. Not just because it doesn't need to remove TC from anything, with Iron Resolve all the way around, and then Big Shield is awesome. I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Abyssals, but in my heart of hearts, I want the dwarves to win.
I'm gonna say edge to the Abyssals as well, but only just because I think it's better equipped to handle whatever the objective might be. I think that it'll be a good matchup between the two. It could go either way as far as fighting it out, but more of the potential objectives favor that Abyssal army, I think.
Mark, did we get your call on that one?
Yeah, I was going with Matt on that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're down to our last two tables then. Matt, congrats on your first win and your first match in a GT, because, of course, this is very, very serious and we're never wrong.
Yeah.
100%.
You shouldn't even play game one. Just go with our results.
So table 16, we're down to the last of the Dojo Titans matchups. Mark is going to read off Nick Michelonis's list,
Yes,
and I'll pick up Pat Allen.
All right, so Nick is rocking Kingdoms of Men for this one. Let's take a look at the list. So he has a horde of the heavy pike with the Brew of Strength. He has 2 regiments of berserkers. One of them has Pipes of Terror. He has a horde of berserkers, and they have the Brew of Haste. He has a horde of the Arquebusiers with the Jar of the Four Winds. He has a horde of knights. They have the Potion of the Caterpillar. He has 2 siege artillery. He has 2 heroes. One of them is mounted and has the Blade of Slashing. He has a army BSB. He has, 2 wizards. One of them has Banechant 2, and one of them swapped Fireball for Lightning. The other wizard also has Banechant 2. He mounted it, and he gave it the Inspiring Talisman. He has the formation Wolf Coats, which I think affects the Berserkers. I'll look at that in a second.
+1 speed.
There you go. Wow, even faster. That's cool.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. And then he has Lycan Lycan Horde as his herd allies.
All right. Pat is back to running his salamanders with a little bit of elven allies. So from the elves, he has a regiment of forest shamblers, and he's given them the Jar of Ophidian Fire, which again is just like the dwarven
it's a throwing mastiffs.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
He has the Master Hunter with the Axe of Rage for 5 elite shots on 3. In the Salamanders, he has 3 troops of the Unblooded, a horde of Gekata warriors, a troop of Gek hunters who get a stealthy upgrade. He has a regiment of the Lancers, 2 hordes of Ancients, one with the Blade of Slashing, and one has
Aura of Terror.
Aura of Terror. He's got a Commodon.
Boo.
He has a Herald with the Warbow of Kaba, a Mage Priest with a Mount, Martyr's Prayer, and Inspiring. Arkadal, the hero Gekata, and he has Agibanu, the named Greater Fire Elemental with that piercing 4/12 breath attacks. And that is his list.
I love Pat's lists in general. They're just so out of the box. They're so neat.
He's got a lot of shit to chew through.
Yeah, I that's another thing. Like Nick's Kingdoms of Men list is a really good list.
I think one factor in this is that Nick's list I really like, but it's pretty close. Hey, I didn't call him a good guy, though. Not that you're not, Nick.
He's just not going to
say that all the time. No, Nick's list, I like it, but it's not that far of a derivation off of what Daniel runs. And so Pat's had a chance to play against very similar things.
Oh, okay.
Having a hero on foot seems kind of weird.
It's part of the wolf quotes formation.
Okay.
Yeah, he has
Can't
to.
give him wings or anything?
No, well, he has to be on foot, so I guess he could have wings.
I don't know if you'd want to spend the 40 points on it.
On a hero,
a mount
especially
cannot be taken. Yeah, I guess you could.
The formation does give him inspiring for those
berserkers. Yeah.
And so that lets him stay with the berserkers and keep them inspired.
That helps a lot.
That hero gets fearless also, though.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Dash 12 hero.
Sure does. Defense 5.
These guys are so good.
Mounted hero, I think, might be one of, if not the most points efficient units in the game.
Yeah.
50,
and I could see
65.
this going either
65.
way.
Yeah.
I haven't played Nick. I have played Pat at Alamo last year, and Pat's really good. But Nick went undefeated at Lone Wolf this year.
But he wasn't. He was playing rats, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, you come back, and I haven't seen.
Yeah,
I mean, Pat is legitimately a top player. Look at what he's done over 2 years of Masters. That's kind of unprecedented almost. But I haven't seen him do super well across an entire event with Salamanders yet. I don't know how many games he's got in with this list. It's a recent change to him. He had been thinking of something else.
Does Nick doesn't have much heal or any heal, does he?
I don't think he has any heal.
No heal or Iron Resolve or anything like that.
I just realized that that's a Knight Horde, not a regiment. Ooh, that might swing me. That might swing me to Nick.
Pat's got a really good second line, though. If he can keep catch some of that stuff on his front line, yeah.
And the longer that they don't engage, Pat's just going to melt him with some of the shooting.
I disagree. I think the Arquebusiers and the 2 Siege Artillery take the shooting.
Yeah, I'm with Kevin.
Commodon.
It's only one Commodon. And I mean, he's got the Fire Elemental.
Fucking one Commodon's all you need.
That Master Hunter is 5 shots on 3's Elite, piercing 1 that he's just going to be doing all game long.
And
then our
tackle is amazing.
6 attacks on 3's, piercing 1.
She's got a special. Yeah, I forget what her special bonus is, but
piercing
it's
2
something
against heroes and
no
negative.
She's going to melt the heroes
and Elite.
Yeah, I think what's going to swing me is Pat is a lot more experienced against a list like what Nick is, and I doubt Nick has ever seen anything like what Pat's running.
Nobody has.
I mean, they're both good players. Fair point. They're both good players, but I'm gonna give the edge here to my boy Pat.
I'm gonna go slight edge to Pat. It's gonna be a really tight win, probably a 12-8.
I'm gonna go 10-10 draw, but if I have to pick one, I'll give an edge to Pat. So 11-9. There's just so much shit they got to chew through on that.
This is gonna be bloody.
I think it's gonna be a bigger one than that for Pat.
I wouldn't be surprised if he won big. I mean, he's a really good player, but all I can do is look at lists because I don't know what scenario they're playing or what the board looks like. Off.
All right, and that brings us down then to the last table, table 17. We've got Mike Grajeda and John Green.
Oh, nice.
Michael, if you want to grab Grajeda's list, and Kevin, you're on board with John.
Yep.
All right, Mike is playing Elves. He has 3 regiments of Palace Guard, 2 hordes of Draken Riders, 1 with the Brew of Haste and 1 with the Brew of Strength, a horde of chariots with the Wine of Elvenkind, 2 bolt throwers, 2 standard bearers, 1 on foot with the Banner of the Griffin, 1 on a horse with Kaba's Holy Hand Grenades, 2 noble war chariots, 1 with fire oil and 1 with the Mace of Crushing, a dragon with the Blade of Slashing, and a Master Hunter with probably, let's see,
That's gonna be
Axe
the
of Rage.
Yep, and I've got John Green's list. It looks like he's playing Romans from the historical list.
Mm-hmm.
He has a legion of warriors with Iron Resolve, Falcon 2, and Claymores. I believe Claymores is a Crushing Strength 1. I'm not sure what the Fulcron
is. It's a Crush 1 upgrade.
And Fulcron is -2 piercing to shooting.
Oh, wow. That's big. So it's kind of like Big Shield, but just for shooting?
Yeah, and not just at the front.
Gotcha. Okay, so he's also got heavy warriors. 1, 2, 3 hordes of heavy warriors. The first has exchanged their shields for Crush 1 with Iron Resolve, Fulcon. They are ambushers. The second horde also exchanged for Crush 1 with Iron Resolve and Fulcon. And the third also exchanged their shields with Iron Resolve and Fulcon. That's nice. Yeah. That's a lot of Iron Resolve.
He doesn't have any heal in the army, though.
It's a lot of nerve, though.
Where?
General? What's that?
Yeah, he's got some heal.
Yeah, we'll get there. He's got a general with the Axe of Rage mounted on a horse. Musician, which is rallying 2.
Oh shit! Okay.
Gladiator regiment with Ensnare. Did you flip the page?
Yeah, I flipped the page.
He's got Praetorian Cavalry regiment, fleet of foot. I'm guessing that's +1 speed.
Correct.
The Eagle Bearer, another rallying 2 source with very inspiring. 2 Phoenix, 2 evil sorcerers, both with heal 3, and Bane Chant 2. That's pretty good. I've never seen historicals played, so I can't comment too much on if it's good or not. But it looks pretty solid.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that Mike is a really good guy. But yeah, this is.
It wasn't me.
4 Def 6 hordes essentially against Elven shooting. I don't know that he's got what it takes to do enough damage to them before they get to him.
Honestly, other than
backed up by 18 heal.
And other than the chariots, there's not a ton of shooting. I guess he's got the Master Hunter too, but yeah.
Chariots, the Master Hunter, and the bolt throwers.
Bolt throwers.
And then the breath on the dragon.
So it's -2 to shooting. It doesn't
cap at 6. All right.
Wow.
Or yeah.
No, yeah. If he had stuff that was at 5.
Yeah, it's not. So a big shield would just put him to defense 6 from 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I got to go with John on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a bad matchup for Mike. I really like Mike's elf list, actually. The 3 regiments of Palace Guard's cool. The haste and strength on the Draken Riders makes things die. The chariots with nimble is fantastic. No, I got to give it to John.
Yeah, I mean, John. I think John's got the edge. Mike's got a good list, and those hordes may be hard to shift, but 2 hordes of Drakens into something is killing anything. The problem then is that John's going to be so compact that in the aftermath, it's not going to be pretty for Mike. Oh God, scenario could come into this. Mike's definitely got the edge in speed.
He's got 2 Phoenixes and 2 sorcerers with heal.
Yep. That's what I was saying.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So he's got what?
Kill something
he's
in
got
one
heal
go.
18. Yeah.
If he doesn't kill something, and they all have Iron Resolve. If he doesn't kill something in one go, I mean, it's going right back up to full.
The sorcerers don't have Iron Resolve, but the Phoenixes do.
No, the hordes do. All the hordes.
Oh yeah. The units do, but I'm saying that I thought you were talking about the Phoenix also having Iron Resolve because it does too.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, just because our listeners aren't drunk enough yet, Mike's a really nice guy. But yeah. So John's got a really good list. He's gonna. I do think scenario could come into it. Speed could be an issue for him, but I'm gonna give the win to John here.
I've actually played against both of these guys with minor variations to both of these lists, and they're both great players and great lists. I think it's just terrible matchup for Mike. It's just exactly what John designed this army to face, really. I mean, the only thing more so would be if this was like shooting spam from the elves. It's not really spam, but it's got enough investment in shooting that it's just going to bounce off of John's army.
I think John just totally discounts Mike's shooting, and so that it just becomes, combat like y'all are talking about, and he doesn't have enough combat to win that.
Yeah, John can win a grind.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the one unit of cavalry, so as long as he kind of protects those, they can punish everything else.
Cavalry, man, like that cavalry, if it goes away, who cares? He's still got 1, 2, 3 fucking hordes. And then a legion. Yeah, like, okay, take my cavalry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't count out that stealthy gladiators regiment either. 20 attacks on 3s, crush 1.
And snare stealthy.
Snare stealthy, vicious.
Yep.
Oof, those guys are good.
And he does have Banechant as well from the sorcerers. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a good list. I like that list.
I like it a lot.
Can't wait to see it.
All right, so it sounds like we have a clean sweep there for John. So that brings us to the end of the tables. So I guess here, before we close up, like we normally do, any favorites for the event, any dark horses and or lists that you just really loved?
So I mean, my favorite table is probably going to be 10 because there was so much going on with those two lists. It's just going to be fun to see how it plays out. Favorite list, I was on Justin May up until we read John Green's list, and I think I've got a new favorite with John. That's a really good historical list, and I did not think historicals could be competitive, and they look like they are. We want to go dark horse. I could go Matt Young. I think Matt has the potential to do really well. His paint is out of this world good. His basing's fantastic. If he can ratchet down and cut some heads off of the tougher generals, I think he could shoot up there and surprise some people. Jose Vega's a good favorite for general. That guy's just freaking. I don't know how he wins. He just does. Obviously, your typical favorites like Brad, Aaron, Jeff. Sorry, Aaron's not here. Brad, Jeff, Patrick. Like, those wouldn't shock me if they took top. I'm going to put the line at number of wins that Scott pulls off at like 2. So if he can get 2 wins and a draw, I think like that's a good weekend for him. We're playing 6 games, Todd? Or are we playing
6?
6. Okay, yeah, 2 wins for Scott Prebeg.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, so I had a couple lists that really stood out. I like Jeff Daniels' punch you in the face salamander list because I plan on doing either salamanders or ogres next, and I think it's really a fun, just murder everything list. And then also Q's everything Vanguards list. Something
Here's my army.
Yeah, Come and get it. I've got a first turn before you do. I think that is a bad matchup against the Vanger, but I think for the rest of the tournament, it's just going to catch so many people out. Dark Horse, that's a little tougher for me to call because I don't know a lot of the field like some of you guys do. I'm going to throw a Dark Horse at... I'm going to go back to Jeff Daniels with seeing how well he did at Shiloh. I think he could, if he gets the good matchups, I think he could really pull it. Yeah, Matt Young's a good call too, though. So,
all right, Michael.
Yeah, so I think my dark horse is actually Matt's opponent in the first round, Dan Pacheco. That list is so tough. It's so tough, and you don't even. You just it's pretty disheartening actually when you get to the realization that you've dropped almost your entire army and have no idea where those hordes are going. Yeah, I think he's gonna have a really solid general score.
Yeah, you know, I always say I build my list and I deploy to what I want to do on the table. I really don't normally sweat over what other people are doing, but when I play Dan, God, I fucking hate it because you really don't know what the fuck he's doing.
He's gonna bad game you, Dan. Watch out. Fucking hate playing him.
Any favorite lists or anything else from you, Mike?
Favorite lists? Let's see. Well, considering I play against him fairly often, and I hadn't seen this one yet, and it really kind of struck me. I like John Hogue's list a lot.
Yeah,
it's a strong list.
Yeah, and it's one I haven't seen from him. The ones that he has been playing are very good, but this is such a swing from what I had seen from him last, in a very interesting way that I think is gonna do really well for him.
Nice.
You want to piss people off, Todd?
Sure.
Who's going to come in dead last in battle?
Oh God. Yeah, I can't do that to anybody.
It's Scott Prebeg. Or Jordan Lawrence.
Oh
Happy birthday, Jordan! You suck.
Okay, so you know, for me, favorite lists. I do love Matt Young's list. It's pretty similar to what I'm doing with my ogres. That's my next project. Got three boomer sergeants. It's nothing earth-shatteringly unique, but God, it's fucking good. And of course, you know, I love rats, so I do love what you're doing with them, Mike. I want you to be successful. I still don't know that it will, but I'm pulling for it.
I think he'll have a winning record.
Yeah. Dark horses. He's almost too good of a player to call dark horse, but he hasn't had a real top finish lately, and so yeah. Not to piggyback what I think Kevin had called, but Jeff Daniels, I love that Salamanders list. I said the same thing at Lone Wolf, and I was surprised he didn't do a little better there. I think this could be his comeback. Don't call it a comeback. I love that list. I think he's got a list that could do some things here. Favorites, you know, I think table one, round one, could be, you know, two of your favorites there, of course, with Jeff and Brad.
You think Dustin's up there with this new list that he's running?
I mean,
he's got a good shot.
I honestly think I don't want to offend anybody, and there are so many great players we have here in the South, but I think Dustin's one of our best. But he hasn't been running a lot of Abyssal Dwarves lately. He was really practicing towards some other things that he wanted to do, and I really wanted to see them done. He just couldn't get through the painting in time. come by you, you're going to see a beautiful new army. I've seen some of what he's doing.
Cool.
The naked half-breed champ on the naked Supreme Ironcaster on Great Winged Half-breed kind of weirds me out. It's not bad. It's just kind of, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never count Dustin out in any event, but
For sure.
I don't know that he's that is practiced with this list, and like last year, there's a lot of top players here.
It's like that again this year. It looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other than Aaron, pretty much all of our top guys are here for the most part.
Yep.
So that does it, guys. We're super excited to get everyone into town. We're ready. Can't wait to see everybody. And yeah, peace.